Welcome to Something to Talk About with the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center. Today we're sponsored by Fieldstone Memory Care, Bainbridge Island. Innovative and compassionate care worth the wait. Call 360-271-2530 to schedule a tour of Fieldstone's beautifully appointed apartments on Rolling Bay today. And that's over by where the old Messenger House is. So it's in a gorgeous area. But it is my pleasure to introduce to you Janetmarie at the barn, the Bainbridge Artisans Resource Network. Good morning, Janetmarie. Good
morning, everybody. And thank you so much to, Reed and Karen and everybody over there. I really appreciate it. I'm a member of a barn, and I have been here since almost the beginning. And my thing even says founding member. Founding member. Can you see that? Okay.
Yes.
Anyhow, I live in Paulsbo, and I'm a wonderful member of barn, and I teach lace making here. Lace making is what I've done most of my life. So I started out, 65 years ago at my grandmother's house, and she was somebody who did a lot of embroidery and counted cross stitch. But I never learned anything from her, but she always gave me all of her wonderful, I don't have, here it is. Oh. All of her threads to figure out.
Look at those colors. Oh,
I just have thousands and thousands of colors. So you can see behind me, there are some samples, my Dorset buttons. Now, Dorset buttons were started in Dorset, the county of Dorset in England. A fellow named, okay, I'm a little nervous. This is my first one.
Okay.
I know.
We're all friends here.
Thank you. It started out when okay, I'm going to breathe. He had a name.
That's why, it's okay, because Reed edits this, and so it's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
He came back from Europe. This is terrible. No, that's okay. Anyhow, he was a farmer in Shaftesbury, England. That's in Dorset County.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back from England, back to England from wars over in Europe, and where he really loved the way they did buttons, the French and the Belgians. So he brought back that expertise. Now, he lived on a sheep farm. And let me show you. Oops, sorry.
So now, right down there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's toggled over here.
It's toggled over here.
I'll do it one more time. Do it again. There we go. There you are. You're good.
I want the sheep. Okay. Can you see my sheep?
Is that like horns or ears? Those are horns, huh?
Those are horns, and they're very important because you have to have something to make the buttons with. And what you do is you start out with something that's circular, and you cover it with a lot of thread. Well, they had a lot of thread. They had a sheep farm. So in Dorset, and it was Portland sheep. And the wonderful thing about that is last time I saw Dorset Buttons, I went to Portland, Oregon for their annual Button Society convention. So I went to Portland to see Portland sheep. Anyhow, that's my Portland. So now the Button Barn, I started doing all these Dorset buttons and I just loved doing it. You can see behind me.
Oh, yes.
A sample of some of my buttons. Can you see that?
Yes. It would be nice to be able to get them a little closer.
Ah,
Can you
look at that.
spotlight her?
I'm,
Can you spotlight Janetmarie?
oh, I've got it a little better. You see some of those?
Oh, yes.
So what's happening is Andrew Case started the Button Society, the whole industry in 1622 after the wars in Europe. And he said, okay, I've got all these sheep and I've got all this wool, let's make some buttons. So he started making the first button industry. And it was just amazing what they could do just with the buttons. Now in 1622, of course, is 400 years ago. So next year, they're going to have a celebration in Europe about the 400-year anniversary of Dorset Buttons. I love it.
Are you going to go?
Oh, I don't think I'm going to go, not during COVID, but
Hopefully it'll be over with by then.
but I'm making 1,622 Dorset buttons, all different to celebrate. And I'm going to send them over there. You can see some of my buttons over here, some of the bigger ones. And I have these also showing in Bainbridge, the barn. Downstairs, there's a sample of some of the buttons and some of the brochures I put together about buttoning at barn.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have lots of fun teaching people how to do this.
So what is the process of making a button? How do you-
Oh, I'll get to that.
All right.
I'll get to that. Hang on.
Oh, that's okay. Just to go with what you're going to do.
I will. All right. Buttons were sold between 8 pence and 3 shillings a dozen. So buttoners usually were children, wives, prisoners, learned how to make buttons, and they made 2 shillings a day for their only income. And at that point in England, that was really good. It was better than being a farmer. You made a lot more money. Now, there are many different kinds of Dorset buttons, different things. And I make the one that's called the Blandford cartwheel. Now, Blandford is the town in Dorset where Mr. Case started his button factory. And it's my favorite thing to do because it's easy.
Yes.
Now, there are so many different kinds of sizes. You can see these are really, really tiny. Oops, these are really tiny. And I have some samples of how big the buttons were. Can you see that?
Yes.
My nose size.
Well, if you put it up next to your shirt, we probably could see it a little better with a dark background.
Hey, next my
Yeah.
shirt.
Yeah, next to that beautiful purple. Oh,
You
yeah.
see that?
Yes. Yes.
That's very tiny, but that would be for like a gentleman's shirt,
Mm-hmm.
for women's clothing, even in their underwear. I don't get that. But in their underwear, they had buttons, and that would be that kind of size. And then there's these wonderful sizes that I love, and that's mostly for decoration. I put together a lot of buttons and make big clumps of them, and you can wear as jewelry. Yes. So next to me is some of my buttons. Now these are some of my blue buttons. Again, I'm making 1,622 of them, all different. You can see some of them are multicolored, some are different styles. But this is what I do all day. It's crazy. I love doing it. Absolutely love doing it. And I do it so frequently. So I'm going to toggle again. All right. Now, it's very simple to make a Dorset button. And there's only several things you have to do. First of all, you have to get the round button and cover it with thread. So this is my needle. Do you see this? This is my pretend needle, my pretend thread. This is my pretend button. So to make a Dorset button, you hold the thread next to the button, and you take the needle that's threaded, and you do some simple measure. Anyhow, you take the needle and you poke it through here, and like you're poking your nose. So the first thing is poke. And the second thing is, since this is on the outside, then you escape. I'll do this again to show you. Then you pull and twist it a little. You poke your nose. You escape the hole, and then you pull it and you twist it a little so the thread doesn't get tangled up. And you just keep doing that and doing that. And you go all the way around.
Jeanette,
Yes.
Jeanette,
Okay. Yeah.
is that a blanket stitch? Is that what you call a blanket stitch?
Probably. Buttonhole stitch, blanket stitch.
Yes, yes.
Very simple. Very
Yes,
simple.
it is, but it's complicated to get started. I'll guarantee you.
Poke.
I'm glad you've shown that.
Poke. Escape. Tug. Twirl.
I just love this teaching method.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Makes
just taking it in a large scale and showing everything.
Yeah. Makes it very simple.
Wow.
Now, to make a button, you've got to have several steps. Excuse me. The first step is to gather all your material. And this is called, got it. Where did I put this? Okay. First of all, you have to cast. That's doing this. You're casting on your stitches all the way around. And it's going to look like this. You cast it around the stitches. And then the second thing is to slick it. Now, slicking is fun. See if I have one here. Slicking is fun. See, I have cast all around. Take it and I twist it so that the stitches are in the middle.
Oh.
See?
Mhm.
Sometimes you can in the middle, and sometimes they're so slicking is slicking it so that's real slick on the outside. So you cast it on, you slick it, and then you lay on the design. So now if we're going to go lay on the design, let's see if I get some more space here. Laying on with just take it, and it's a lace making type of thing. You just do it back and forth and back and forth, and that's laying on.
Okay.
It's very, very simple. And then you just rounding is you go back when all this is done and just go around and around and around, making a design inside. Now let's see if I can find one that has good. This one, can you see?
Yes.
This hasn't been, you can tell it has not been slicked,
No.
but it has been laid, and it does have a rounding. Let's see another one.
So that is a design. It's not slicked. So you want that rough edge on the outside then.
Oh, sometimes.
Yeah.
I like it. It's
yeah, I
not,
too. I like it too.
not the way they do it in England, probably. See, it's just like this, not really nice and
Mhm.
smooth, especially for men's outfits. See, this is the back end of it.
Yes.
So you can tell that this is, and then they go around and around and around and around with the design. See?
Gorgeous colors together.
Yeah,
Colors, yeah.
I just love this stuff. And you can play. I have different threads. This is fuzzy thread, and then just regular
Wow.
embroidery floss.
That almost looks shell-like to me.
Well,
Yeah.
and if you like to, you can put them a lot together
Oh,
and make
yeah.
yourself
Oh my
a
goodness.
necklace or whatever,
Lots of different pins.
different pins,
Yeah.
make it different.
Oh, that's that lovely teal.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
gorgeous. Okay, so you start with, you cast it around, you slick it if you want to, you lay the threads back and forth, and then you round and around with the design. So here's a picture. You cast it on, you slick it, you lay the spokes, and then you go around and around. Is that clear?
Yeah, absolutely.
So is it like?
I'm glad you said spokes because I was thinking it looked like a bicycle wheel in some of them.
Yes,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's a Blandford cross wheeled.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When you go around and around, do you go over, under, like you're weaving?
absolutely.
Okay.
There's a lot of embroidery stitches you can use, or just over and under and over and under. You can be so simple or complex. And I love it when you do something like this and you lay it in a different color
Mhm. That's
and then
gorgeous.
do the round and round.
Creative. Oh,
It is so much fun. And it's so much fun when you get many, many colors going. See if I can find a good one. Okay, anyhow. So when you're done going through all that, what you need to do is you have this thread left over. You need to go back and forth at least 3 times inside of it so that it's settled and it doesn't come out. You don't have to put a knot there. You just go back and forth just to hide the thread. Now, there are many, many places on earth you can find Dorset Buttons information. And there are a lot of books, a lot of instructional things, a lot of stores, especially in England, that will sell Dorset Buttons. Again, Dorset is the county. And they have a lot of societies, and the societies are just wonderful. There's even in Washington, there's a Dorset Button newsletter. Lots of those. A Washington State Button Society. And I've got that every month. The Washington State Button Society sends materials. And they show you how to do things, and they show you where to get the materials. Now, all of my materials are just empty, anything empty and around. Sometimes I do it on an old washer. Sometimes I do it on what is called a cabone ring. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that. The knitters use them when they're knitting to figure out their stitches. It's just a little plastic ring. And you put the stuff around it, which makes a very light button.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
So the sheep horn,
Yeah.
would they cut them? And then there would be a round piece that they would make the buttons out of, or no?
Oh, yeah. No, you didn't misunderstand. I just worked too fast. Because it was a sheep farm, they had many, many sheep, and the Portland sheep always had curly little horns. So they would cut them into hundreds of little round things to use for the buttons. They would make hundreds and hundreds of buttons. And
Would
that's,
that be the live sheep?
yeah,
They would cut the horns of the live sheep?
sure.
Okay.
Any place they can find the horns. But then they started importing them to Europe because people really like them. And it's difficult to get that kind of button. And it was men and women, everybody used buttons. And the problem was, of course, there were 4,000 people in the county of Dorset that were making buttons.
Wow.
And that was their livelihood. So in 1850-ish, some guy invented a button making machine. And he introduced that at the first World's Fair. I think it was called something else, International Fair. And the Dorset button industry died immediately.
Oh.
4,000 people just in one county. And this is all over Europe. The button industry died just like that. Many of those people had to emigrate. Most of them went to America. And they're called buttoners. And they did buttony. That's the thing I showed you from the barn, buttony barn. And they moved all over the world and had to start other employment. So it was very hard on them. But the guy who invented all this button machines, well, now people use the button machine kind of thing where there's two holes in it and you sew it on. But some lady dowager something, decided she wanted to see more Dorset buttons and thought it was a great craft, and went around all of Dorset and counties around there and found out how to make Dorset buttons. She grabbed a lot of grandmothers and older people who knew how to do that and revived the craft. And that's why we have a craft today of making Dorset buttons. but they're mostly for show and for enjoyment and make really pretty buttons. So,
When
and
was that? When did she turn it into a craft? Was that like a couple hundred years ago or more recently?
well, since the craft died in 1850-ish,
Hmm.
it was about that time
Mhm.
when she went around and found that stuff. I think I have my numbers right. I'm not sure. But it was just out of her heart. She wanted to save an old craft, and it was just wonderful. So now you can have many, many books about buttons. You can buy buttons or how to make buttons. This one is great. This one is from the Baker Button in England.
Hmm.
And they show you how to make them, and they give you the instructions and show you how to do it and give you all the supplies and everything. So it's really great. And you can go on the internet and find Dorset Buttons. Just wonderful. And you can find many, many books on Dorset Buttons that you can get from the Seattle Public Library. Creating Dorset Buttons, hand-stitched Dorset Buttons for over 300 years. The history of Dorset Buttons, how to make Dorset Buttons. So 50 heirloom buttons. There's just many, many books that are so easy to get.
I have a question. Does anybody use those buttons functionally, like with buttonholes still, like for very fancy, like suit jackets or blouses?
Of course.
Yeah, you could, but
A good tailor would use them.
yeah. Mostly they are fiber buttons.
They're more decorative.
They're more decorative, and fiber buttons tend to get a little dirty. So they're kind of hard to.
But there's a way to clean them.
Yeah, you just wash them. It's just fiber.
With a brush.
And they're
I don't even use a brush. I just clean them. Yeah. So something like this, you would want to be very careful that you didn't brush it too hard, so you would move that part.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But me, I would just put this in soapy water.
Swish it.
Like a hand washing. Yeah.
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 Even less effort than hand washing. Just
Yeah.
kind of get it soapy and do that. So let's see. The one thing I really, really wanted to say is, this started in 1622, Andrew Case's farm. And so next year they're having a lot of celebrations of 400 years of making Dorset buttons.
Mm.
And one of the ones that I love is the Baker Button. The Baker Buttons is a company. They're having a worldwide Dorset Button along on the 8th of January, 2022. That's 400 years of making buttons, and they're all going to make them together.
Oh.
I'm sending my 1,622 buttons to England for the celebration. And I just have so much fun. You can see me all over town, even when I'm eating dinner. I'm making buttons.
How many have you made?
Oh, people keep asking me that. I don't know. It's a couple hundred. I'm not quite sure it's at 1,622 yet, but I'm sure I have at least 622. I know for sure I have that much, but I keep making them. Often it takes me a couple of minutes or less to make a button. If you have to make a small button.
They're small. Wow.
Very small. It
Does that take longer? Or
not really. No, if you have good eyesight. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't start in the beginning. I
That's
didn't
okay.
start that. I am very nearsighted, extremely nearsighted. In my whole life, I've only done miniatures. I started out doing lace making. And at one time I taught lace making at the School of the Art Institute in Chicago, which is a major art place in the world. I write a lot of booklets about how to do things like that. And everything's really tiny. I just love tiny. So
Oh, wow.
it's hard for people who can't see that well, but that's why I make some really big ones. You can make some really big ones and like use them as a pin or use them as a necklace. Let's see, necklaces. Like,
Yeah. Put them on yarn or chain.
yeah,
Yeah.
put them on chains.
Oh, wonderful. So.
I wouldn't use them for something like a keychain because they are fiber.
Right.
And like I said, when you end the thread, go in and out about 3 times with thread, so you anchor it. Anchoring is not the same as knotting it. You have to be careful that you're not going to undo any of the fiber.
Like that, the anchoring is really similar to what I was taught to do when I put a button on a piece of material. You know, when you put it on and then on the back of it, you go in and out and in and out 3 times.
Yes. Now,
Now,
these buttons don't have a backing. I love this. Well, you can see the back of it's just as almost pretty as the front of it. Oh, what did I do?
oh, you're fine.
Oh,
We still see you.
it went bye-bye.
Oh, well, we still see you.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Ah,
Yeah. See, you gotta watch out for technology.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Where are you sending the buttons exactly? Who are you sending the buttons to next year?
I was going to send them someplace else, but now I think I'm going to send them to Beaker Button, the company that you can get information from and supplies from and instructions. They seem to be the ones that are more together on the internet. So
How did you decide on the amount of buttons to send them?
it started in 1622.
oh,
That was
Logical. Sorry.
the
but
beginning of the industry.
yeah, there you go. 1,692, 1692, 992,
No, 1,622.
and 22 buttons, huh? You're not going to do 23, huh?
Oh, actually, I've done a lot more than that. What happens is I do them in public a lot, and people say, "Oh, that's beautiful. I want one." So I give them away all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't count 1,622 because I keep giving them away.
yeah. Janetmarie, where do you hang out so we can go see you do it?
Yes.
I hang out at Barn, Bainbridge Artisan Resource
In the
Network.
basement or where?
I'm sorry?
Where in the barn? Upstairs, downstairs, where?
Well, downstairs has the display of these buttons.
Okay, and so that's where you hang out?
No, I'm usually at the front desk, actually.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'm in the fiber department mostly. I'm known, now this is weird, I'm known as the person who's taken more classes in more studios than anybody else at Barn.
No kidding.
They should
I
give you a
love taking classes here. I even learned how to solder.
That's
Okay,
fantastic.
You learned how to what?
Solder.
Oh, good.
That's fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's time for you to to teach a class at Barn now. Could
Oh,
you
yeah.
teach a class on how to make the buttons?
I'd love to teach another class. I have taught more than one class at Barn about Dorset buttons. And it's very simple and it's very fast. And a lot of people just adore it because they walk out with a finished button. They could walk out with 10 finished buttons. I mean, people made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of buttons for a living. And that's how they made their family survive in
Right.
England.
Yeah.
Just
So
wonderful.
Can I give another plug for the barn? I just
please.
received this in the mail today, and
Yeah.
it's
Good.
their classes. So, you know, we, as a nonprofit at the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center, we also like to support the nonprofits, other nonprofits, and the barn is such an island treasure. And, you know, if Janetmarie's at the front desk, we know that we're going to want to go, right?
Well, only 3 days a week.
3 days a week. Okay. But we'll come down to see you. And,
Absolutely. And do take classes. And there's so many fiber classes here. Like I said, I started out as a lace maker.
mhm.
And I want to teach another lace class here. I've taught several lace classes at Barn. But the Dorset buttons are so much fun and so easy for people. Even kids can do them. Just so much fun. And you always end up with something. If you take a lace making class, it may take you forever. I have a piece of lace up at Barn, in the Barn studio on the wall. It took years to do because
Wow.
it's so complicated.
Mhm.
And I learned all this stuff on my own from books. So you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to know an expert. Sometimes you can pick it up from books or from watching somebody do it. And that is so wonderful that you don't have to live with a lace maker to learn how to make lace.
Yeah.
You can do it on your own. And like even with my experiment, with my showing how to make Dorset buttons with huge things,
Right.
you just experiment. You do it. You poke it,
Mhm.
you poke, you escape, you tug, you twirl.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Easy stuff.
Beautiful.
What's the purpose of the twirl?
Anytime you're working with thread, it likes to twirl on itself.
Mhm.
It basically always twists. I know if you ever do any needlework, you know that
Yep.
it gets weird like that. And if you keep, it's not a huge twirl. Sometimes it's just one little
Mhm. You have to
thingy.
put a,
But if you don't do that, you will start getting funny knots all over the place.
all over.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you're untwisting the twist that is naturally happening?
Well, that's one way to think of it. You're untwisting the natural twist, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm doing so many things so fast that I don't remember or think about where the twist is. I just know if I twist it a little tiny bit. Whoops.
I like the word twirl better.
Twirl it a little tiny bit. Sometimes like even a quarter on a needle.
Just a sousson of a twirl.
Oh, oui, mais oui.
You are wonderful. You are a treasure
Oh,
yourself.
thank you, thank
Oh,
you.
my
Oh,
goodness.
that's so sweet.
Yeah, Marie,
wonderful.
wouldn't it be
True.
fun? We
Wonderful.
all get together in a circle and just make buttons together. And
That would be
And
fun.
then you can all
I would love that.
put them together in your own necklaces. That would be great.
Oh, I'd love
I
that.
think we